Welcome back. Gaijin just dropped a little bit of a bombshell and I want to cover it because there's quite a few things in here and not everyone is looking at it because it's a forum post. So if you want to read it, it's in the description. If you just want to take your time and you don't want to listen to my annoying ass voice, then I recommend you to click the link. I'm going to be reading some of it, but I mostly just want to talk about everything that's being mentioned, general thoughts, and maybe explain some things in case not everything is clear. Now, there are some new things being mentioned. We have the major patch coming around the corner, of course. They are announcing FOX-3 missiles in this case. They're also announcing some new maps and, of course, the new vehicles. The vehicles are not really being talked about here. Overall, this is mostly about the roadmap changes. So things like the resource bonuses, things like the drag and drop crew spaces, the 2S38 is being changed, so the internal modules are actually going to get modeled so it can actually die now instead of being just made out of air. We have crew healing, which is fantastic because who doesn't hate having a red gunner that isn't able to do anything. And there are also some other things like the MiG-23 flight model rework, 12v12 possibly coming back. They're mentioning 16v16, but I just want to basically start from the top and get to the bottom, just like we do in real life. The start of this post is basically just all kind of air, it all doesn't matter, just an introduction, very generic, just kind of to fluff it all up. And then it starts with, sadly, we'll have to delay the resource bonuses for new nations again, as it won't make it in time for the release of the upcoming major update due to reasons that have arose, which I can clarify below. Now, they don't really clarify it, but the long story short is, it's not going to make it in a major update. They shouldn't have done it with a major update, as there's already a lot going on, so they are thinking about doing it with an fixed episode that comes like bi-weekly. So we'll just have to wait. For now, it's just a waiting game. They are working on it. Whether it's actually delayed or not and why it is, I'm not sure. It doesn't seem particularly hard to do, but you know, I'm not a coder and I have a very surface level of knowledge when it comes to this stuff. I know how to make like a HTML website. Actually, that's a lie. I used to be able to. I probably can't even do that anymore. And then here's a mock-up. If you are not aware what it does exactly, we have the last vehicle in a line, so something like the F-16C, the F-15A or the F-14B. It will point down here to daily bonus to researching aircraft of other nations with brackets and a question mark. That's probably not going to stay there, but we're not entirely sure how it's going to be. If it's like capped per day, something like Squadron RP, we'll just have to wait and see. It's highly anticipated. A lot of people are going to look into this because it's going to make it so that if you just play one nation, eventually you're still going to research other stuff, which is always a good thing. They're probably going to put a little bit of a limit on it because they do not want you to simply, well, you know, grind out everything with one nation and then you don't have to buy any premiums anymore. So there's probably going to be a little bit of a caveat to it. But, you know, free RP is always a good. And then we have the next thing, which is pretty major. It's the moving to a more positive note to set our eyes on. And that's separation of battle ratings for different game modes, which is pretty much finished. Now this sounds pretty good, but if you keep on reading, this says before the next major update, so this is coming pretty damn soon. Now it's only a handful of aircraft and it's of course subject to change. The only thing that I'm scared of, that planes like the A-10, planes like the Su-25, which are mainly used for ground support, that they're going down in BR and AirRB, and we do not need these all-aspect missiles at a lower BR. Ground pounders do not need to be the main killing power of the enemy team, or your friendly team for that matter. I think that they should be able to defend themselves to a certain degree, like the AIM-9L does, but I don't think that these planes should be facing, well, stuff without flares. All-aspect missiles should never see planes without flares. I don't care how bad the airframe is, it makes for a terrible game dynamic, and I think this just overall decreases the health of the game. It pushes a lot of planes down that are just simply unplayable because of this feature. Say the F-104A, the MiG-19Ss, the Yak-38s, they shouldn't be at 9.3, but because we have the A-10 and the Su-25 basically killing them at whatever angle they're flying at, it basically makes them obsolete and pushes them down into a place where they shouldn't be, compressing everything down all the way to like 7.3-ish. Now, we're not going to talk about props, you get the idea. The compression is pretty bad, and I think that moving some planes up that ruin the entire BR range should be either staying at the BR or going up a little bit. We'll have to see. I just really hope that the A-10 is not going to like 9.7 because it's quote-unquote not that fantastic in AirRB. But you know, that is just something we'll have to wait and see. And we can bitch about it if it goes wrong, and we can praise it if it goes right, as we should. And then we have the drag and drop vehicles. Now this is just quality of life, so you can like pick a vehicle and just drag it into your crew slot down below. All sounds good. Not really that big of a deal for RLB players when you only play with like one vehicle, but for ground LB players, for arcade players or sim players, this is a great addition because it just makes it a lot easier to like just click a certain vehicle, drag it in the bar down below. You don't have to finick with like pressing the small little slit on the bottom, click like select crew and then drag it in. None of that issue. Just quick and easy and definitely needed. The one that we have right now is pretty damn outdated. Also, don't fret, the Kavir Canard has not undergone a strange remodel and these vehicles won't be going to the USA. The designers use placeholder names and icons when finishing things. So the A5 M4 is not going to be a Kavir Canard. Don't worry about it. And then we have the 2S38. It's of course notoriously made out of air. It's going to be filled up a little bit more with bigger components and more of them. So now if you shoot center mass or you don't pinpoint the exact position, you will still damage the tank a little bit, making it a little bit easier to kill. A lot of people are complaining about this. I personally have not much experience with it, but from what I've been hearing, it sounds pretty terrible. Of course, a good change then, that's not terrible at all. And I have a pretty big one, the automatic healing of ground crew members. Now it's fantastic because driving around with a red gunner, loader or like a driver that works on 5% efficiency is super frustrating. And we don't live in communist Russia, so we can't just shoot him in the back of his head. So you have to just kind of deal with him being there. You can't replace him either. You can't be like, yeah, go into the commander seat so that the commander can load a little bit faster than you. So being able to heal them is definitely welcome. Now it says 3. Now I'm not sure if it's healing all 3 of them or if you have like 3 heal pops. It says automatic healing, so I'm gonna assume that like over time, like say after a minute or so, your crew slowly starts getting their health back. I'm not sure, we'll see how they implement it. But for now, it's at least good to hear that they are working on it. Then we have some bug fixes and improvements. Now the main thing is going to be the MiG-23 and the MiG-27s. They are going to be nerfed in their flight performance, especially with the wing swept forward. All in all, they are just going to be worse in the rate. They're going to lose more speed and they are going to have an increase in drag. How much this will really affect it, we will have to see. We can't really comment on it just yet. We'll just have to test it once it comes out. And I'll definitely make a video on it once this change goes out, because I do want to keep you all up to date. And then we're talking about the PLZ-38. Something about the tracks, not really that, plus new shells. We'll have to see. I'm not really a knower. Someone will definitely let me know in the comments and I'll pin it or like it or whatever. We'll see, just so you can see it. Then the lightning port for the F-16C, the AV-8B and the Barack Obama has been worked on. When it gets changed, no real word on it just yet. We'll just have to wait and see. And then another pretty big one. The CM team saw your feedback surrounding air battles and the number of players in them and spoke to the devs about this to see if something could be done. What do you mean? Of course, it's just a number. The devs are planning something for this. I can't write specifics or give a timeline, but it's being looked into as of now. I'm not sure why it's so difficult, because, well, they just implemented it just like that as well. So why can't you just, you know, that's just my point of view on it. Again, I am not a coder. I barely know how to make a website, but this just seems like a lot of bogus, but I'm very glad that they are at least looking into it. And of course, thank you all for submitting bugs. Incredible. And then we have the next upcoming major update. Now, a little bit of the usual stuff. It's gonna be tanks, aircraft and ships, but we're getting FOX-3 missiles now, so stay tuned for that. I wonder how much is going to change AirRB. In the grand scheme of things, it's probably gonna force more people to the deck unless they change multi-pathing. We'll just have to see how it pans out, but I think in the grand scheme of things, it will make the matches even faster. So having smaller games would maybe be a little bit of a good idea. Those two go hand in hand. We do not want 16 players with like everyone having 6 FOX-3 missiles that are being launched across the map, then they go RTB and nothing gets done. So it's either going to drag out the matches because everyone's gonna start slinging that shit across the map like some F-14s already do, or it's just gonna make it even faster because everyone headbutts each other in the middle, or it's gonna be even a little bit somewhere in the middle where everyone is now scared of missiles and all hugs the deck. We'll have to see how it pans out. I think that if everyone plays the same way, it of course won't change all that much. But this is bound to change the gameplay, and planes like the Gripen are going to get a massive buff because the, well, radar missiles it has right now aren't that fantastic. So definitely looking forward to that one, but we'll have to see what they do. And there's also some notion of bug fixes, features, ability to collapse the ranks in the research tree, which is, I think, nice because, well, I mean, look at it. it's terrible, especially with Germany. Like, if I want to scroll, it takes me like 4 scrolls to get down here. My finger might get sore, you know? But in all seriousness, it's a nice change. It doesn't really change that much, but they're also talking about bug fixes. They do this all the time. They say we fixed 20 bugs, and then they implemented 15 other ones. But we'll see once the update gets announced. I'm kind of curious how it's going to pan out. But yeah, can't really talk about anything just yet, because they haven't even announced the first dev blog yet. But we'll see when it gets here. Next up, we have the new vehicle event, and it's actually going to be a tank, not a boat. Some people are going to be disappointed by that, because normally the progression is plain tank boat. But you know, what can you do about it? It's one he's looking personally forward to, so I'm looking forward to the next T80 with an extra 50 cal on the nose. You know, absolutely fantastic addition. Maybe we're going to get something for the plane next time. We're going to get a Yak 3 with no 50 cals. It's going to be absolutely blowing your mind. It's going to be 3.0 or some shit. But in all seriousness, looking forward to the new event vehicles, but I would really like some new stuff opposed to something like a 2-seater Jaguar, an SU-25, an A7K, you know, and another Tornado that doesn't do anything that the other Tornado does. You know, it's just kind of copy-paste at this point. It's kind of annoying. I get it at the same time. You want to have the ability to grind something and not have to grind the entire tech tree for it. Well, no one is going to grind the Tornado, let's be honest. But you know what I'm saying? I guess that is nice for those people, but why does it always have to be for those people? Like, maybe 10 to the people that play your game for like 6 years, sometimes here and there. But you know, I don't want to go into that too much. I don't want to bitch about this game all the time. And I tried not to. Like, I tried to just give you the gameplay, tell you my experience, give you some tips, make your gameplay experience more enjoyable. And if I just complain about everything every time, I don't think that is like very constructive. And here they talk about be sure to get involved. And I agree with this. If you have displeasures, if there are things that you don't like, if there are things that you like to see, I think it's important to mention these things in the public so that people can actually be like, yeah, I want that too. And if there's enough people, just like with the healing factor for tanks, maybe they'll actually implement it. Now, this doesn't mean that if you are a content creator, and I won't do it either, that you have to complain about everything or things that you want to see every video, because I don't think that helps anyone. I don't think that making 10 videos on the same topic really helps the case. But when they are changing stuff, I think it's good to notify you of it. And if there are things that I would like to see, I will mention them here and there. And with a topic like this, I will gladly say that I would like to see that the tickets get reworked. I would like to see that the match timer is ever slightly longer, maybe 30 minutes, so you can actually RTB sometimes. Right now on maps like City, maps like Tunisia, maps like Poland, or perhaps, what's the other one? I forgot the name. But you have like 1,200 tickets, and then you're just flying around, and within 2 minutes the game is over. And it's not because they are ground pounding. It is not because the player did anything, it's because the AI just kill each other. And I think it would be nicer that the tickets actually maybe tick down or tick up, so that the matches just last a little bit longer and you're actually able to play strategically. Right now, if you have a team that is completely ground pounding and they all get air spawns and you do not, they have basically depleted 60%, 70% of your tickets before you even reach the middle of the map. And if they then just kind of run away, they have automatically won. They can then just camp the base, and because the base A is also kind of ridiculous, on top of that, you're just not able to actually kill them. So I think that this needs a rework for RRB. I've been very vocal about this, not too often, but when it does come up, I try to mention it regardless, for very obvious reasons. That's all I have for you today. Let me know what you think about all the changes. And sorry if my screen looks kind of washed out. I forgot to turn my HDR off and I'm recording in SDR. And on this website, it looks absolutely horrible. But that's all I have for you today. Thank you all for watching and you'll see me in the next one.